Hello and welcome to the Persevere and Motivate development series, a behind-the-scenes video series building a business management solution written in a variety of languages. It will encapsulate a variety of tools at the user's disposal, including managing business procedures within different modules, website templates such as vacancies, integration with third-party platforms using REST APIs, and many more. In this presentation, I will be introducing you to the P&M business management solution and what it will entail. Let's start by discussing how the software package will be built. The main software client is going to be built using Visual Studio and C#. Over the years, I have been developing multiple libraries that can aid in the development of database object management. However, as we begin to develop the application further, REST APIs will be introduced and there will be a shift to this approach. However, both direct database access and REST for remote web access will be available in the final product. This means that you can work on both an internal database for certain modules and a remote database for other modules. A typical example of this would be having employee data restricted to an internal database and your customer data, followed by orders, products, and perhaps delivery tracking mechanisms available in a remote server. There will be a multitude of website templates available with certain modules. The first module we will build is HR, which will include a vacancy website template. This will include candidate registration and login information, vacancy applications, bookings for interviews, and more. This will also work more effectively when using analytics tools with HR versus using third-party job searching websites. However, typically employers might combine both. These websites will, of course, be built using HTML5 and CSS3. And finally, the server-side web and REST API code will be built using HAX. This is an open source programming language which offers generation of code for server-side languages such as PHP, Python, and Lua. The standard library is very easy to use, and thanks to its superb simplicity, switching between target languages is easy. This means that regardless of whether your website is built in C#, PHP, Python, or any other future server-side language HAX might support, you do not need to fiddle about with configuration as much as you might have done if server-side code was built only in PHP. The P&M business software comprises of different modules. Each module is itself an executable with its own features. The main launcher of the software will grant shortcuts to these executables, as well as global settings and access to the master account for global administrators. In the future, all updates to the software, as well as settings for specific versions, will be managed by the launcher. We will begin with human resources when building this application. Most businesses, once they get off the ground with their niche idea, will begin by recruiting people. Of course, they may not necessarily be suitable for all business types. However, this module even established companies may find benefit, especially with regards to auditing, which we will discuss later. We anticipate that at least 10 modules will be built to form the complete software package that is Persevere and Motivate. This will include everything from managing people's projects, customers, finance, planning, orders and delivery, and more. Let's talk a little about how this video series will be structured. Overview videos such as this one will be available on YouTube for anyone to watch. Over time, as we get into more detail about the actual development of the software, videos will be uploaded to Vimeo. This will be available on a monthly subscription for anyone interested in the fine detail of the development of this software. The primary reason for this approach is to support future developments before its first release. Monthly subscribers will also get access to the full release for a period equivalent to their subscription period. For example, subscribing to 3 months on the development series will grant you access to the software for 3 months. It is our way of thanking you for supporting the project during development. But why would you subscribe to the development of a piece of software that hasn't been built yet? You can think of it as a tutorial series, where we will discuss the complete workings of building a fully fledged business management tool from scratch in C# WinForms. In addition, you are granted access to the software when publicly available. And if you do use the business management tool for your own needs, This development series will give you a full understanding of how the software is built, which may come in handy if you are a developer. So apart from the immediate benefits of this development series in fine detail, what would make you invest time and effort in a business management tool when there are so many solutions out there? I have looked at several solutions myself, including Zoho One, Project Management Tool Monday, ClickUp, and one or two others. Either you are paying for a service where the data is not stored in your hands, which is less than ideal if you care about data protection, or the service itself assumes your business structure, or perhaps the complexity is overwhelming and requires investing more time looking at tutorials than actually using the software. One of the major problems when looking at existing solutions is an intuitive, easy to understand user interface which works exactly how you would expect. Firstly, simplifying the admin process is an absolute must. By providing checklists, which would be automatically produced out of interactions with software, you will be navigated to where you need to be to complete the necessary steps. One of the goals of this software is for modules to communicate with each other through checklists. For example, you allocate a successful applicant to a role, and the allocation will produce a checklist for both IT and HR. Inside IT, they will be given a list of tasks setting up user profiles for Windows, access to the various internal systems within the company, etc. In HR, the tasks will ask you to verify identity of your new recruit, handing out the necessary training for that particular role, and setting up performance targets. Another goal of the software is automatic logging of activity. This is especially crucial if you are a limited company. Let's take, for example, using the print function within the software to print sensitive employee data. If you mark their role redundant, the software will know that you have printed information about them, and will A. log the fact that you marked the role redundant, B. generate a task that requires you to fulfill redundancy policies as required by law, and C. ask you to delete any physical data corresponding to that employee once redundancy is complete. This seems all well and good, except perhaps it isn't quite enough to fulfill your specific requirements. At the end of the day, all businesses are different and they don't necessarily need every single feature. Each module will be completely customizable in their settings, but perhaps most importantly, it is extendable. In a later module, data forms will become available, and that will allow you to build forms and templates. These can be added to any module and any section where there is data to be processed. You can tell the software how to interpret that data, whether to communicate with other modules, etc. For more complicated scenarios, you can use the public or private APIs to extend the software, which can include a combination of REST APIs for talking to third-party services and the private internal APIs for adding more detailed GUI options and features to any module. Finally, P&M doesn't assume anything about your business structure. Instead, with a combination of the eventual business module and data forms module, you can tell the software the exact process of getting from the planning stage to the end user, regardless of your industry or market. Your policies are your own. Again, P&M will not assume how you operate your business. Most business management tools force you against your own policies by having mechanisms in place that may prevent certain integral procedures from being carried out. Tell the software how to operate, and that software will work with you rather than against you. So you're probably wondering how long this software will take, considering nothing has been built yet. Bear in mind that some utilities do exist, but some work to them may need to be done at a later stage. Initial development for the HR module, including a basic user management system in IT and a basic logging system for the audit module, is likely to take about 6 months, give or take. This is ultimately dependent on personal time and resources, so this period is more of a guideline rather than a guarantee. Beta release we expect to be in the early months of 2020 to gather feedback and market to the press. Beta will be free for everyone. After feedback and improvements have been made, the software will be released publicly. This also includes the time it might take to build the website. Business models for this software are to be decided at a later date. If you have got this far, I thank you ever so much for taking the time to listen and watch. If you have any questions or queries, please do not hesitate to make them below in the comments section of this video. In the next video, we will discuss an overview on what is to be included in the HR module.